Picture this. It's 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, and you're suddenly holding an empty coffee cup. You didn't really decide to go get it, but there it is. Or, maybe you're 20 minutes deep into some mindless phone scrolling on your couch, and you literally have no idea how you even unlocked your screen. We've all been there, right? It's just a completely universal human experience to suddenly sort of wake up in the middle of an action and wonder, wait, how did I get here? Why do we do what we do without even thinking about it? And why do certain behaviors just feel completely automatic while starting a new, healthy routine feels like you're pushing a massive boulder up a steep hill? Well, today, we're going to uncover the hidden mechanics behind these invisible forces.
Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely pumped that you're here today because we're going to systematically deconstruct the actual mechanics of human habits. We'll be looking at this whole thing through the lens of Charles Duhigg's incredibly powerful framework. Really, just think of this as the ultimate masterclass in what we call the architecture of habitual transformation. If you're the kind of person who loves to understand how things work behind the scenes, and you want to leverage that knowledge to learn and grow, you're in exactly the right place. We are going to make the complex inner workings of your brain completely accessible.
Here's the building plan for today. 1. The architecture of habits. 2. Decoding the habit loop. 3. The golden rule of change. 4. Keystone habits and cascades. And 5. Mastering your own architecture. Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the architecture of habits. The absolute first foundational concept we need to get straight is that our habits aren't these unbreakable iron chains or personal failings. Not at all. They're actually just engineered codes. They're neurological pathways that your brain has built up over time to just be as efficient as possible. And the data behind this? It's staggering. According to a really famous Duke University study, nearly 40% of our daily actions run on complete autopilot. 40%. Think about that. When you wake up, get dressed, commute to work, choose what to eat, almost half of everything you do every single day is not an actual conscious decision. Calculate what 40% of your waking day looks like in hours. It's massive. But, rather than being intimidated by that number, realize what an opportunity it is. Imagine the kind of power you'd have if you could consciously engineer that 40%.
So where does this mental autopilot actually live? Meet the basal ganglia. It's this ancient, primitive lump of tissue situated right deep inside your brain. MIT researchers proved its immense power with some truly fascinating rat maze experiments. They found that as a rat learns to navigate a maze to find a piece of chocolate, its brain activity is initially just off the charts. But once the route becomes a habit, the brain activity actually drops off significantly. The basal ganglia memorizes the pattern, allowing the rest of the brain to essentially save energy and just power down. It's basically nature's ultimate efficiency hack. Your brain literally wants to turn routines into habits so it can free up precious mental bandwidth for way more complex tasks.
Moving right along to Section 2, decoding the habit loop.
So now that we know where habits live and why our brains create them, we really need to look at the core floor plan. Understanding this specific floor plan is the absolute first step to taking back control of your mental architecture. Simply put, you can't change a habit until you can clearly identify its individual components. Every single habit you have, good or bad, follows this exact three-step sequence. Step 1 is the cue. This is the trigger. It tells your brain to go into automatic mode. It might be a time of day, an emotional state, or even a specific location. Step 2 is the routine. This is the actual behavior itself, which can be physical, mental, or emotional. And finally, Step 3 is the reward. This is the payoff, right? The reward helps your brain figure out if this particular loop is even worth remembering for the future. Cue, routine, reward. It's a continuous, closed neurological loop. Let's make this super tangible with the dreaded 3 p.m. cookie craving. Come on, we've all fought this battle, right? Let's break it down using our brand new loop. The cue is often just the clock striking 3, combined with that sudden dip in afternoon energy and, let's be honest, maybe a little bit of boredom. The routine, getting up from your desk, wandering down to the break room, chatting with a coworker, and eating that chocolate chip cookie. And the reward? A quick sugar rush and a really pleasant, temporary distraction from your work. Your basal ganglia remembers this exact sequence, and I guarantee you, tomorrow at exactly 3 p.m., you'll be craving another cookie without actively deciding you even want one.
All right, on to Section 3, the golden rule of change.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is that it introduces a massive paradigm shift. This is where we stop just diagnosing the problem and actually start fixing it. For years, people thought the only way to break a bad habit was just to stop doing it, just rely on sheer willpower to crush the routine. But as we know from looking at the blueprints, that almost never works. The brain's cravings are way too deeply wired for that.
You can't just rely on sheer willpower to bulldoze the building entirely. Instead, you just remodel the interior. You absolutely must keep the outside structure exactly the same cue and the same reward. All you do is systematically swap out the interior routine. So going back to our cookie example, if the cue is that 3 p.m. slump and the actual reward you're desperately seeking is just a break from your screen and a quick burst of energy, you don't try to ignore the cue, no way. Instead, you insert a new routine. At 3 p.m., you get up and take a brisk 10-minute walk outside, or you go chat with a friend while drinking a glass of cold water. Same cue, same reward, completely remodeled routine. It's a total game changer.
Let's move to Section 4, Keystone Habits and Cascades.
So far, we've been talking about isolated habits, but actually scratch that. Not all habits are created equal. If we stick with our construction metaphor here, in our mental architecture, some walls are just simple partitions, but others are actual load-bearing walls. And when you move a load-bearing wall, the entire structure of the house shifts. This brings us to a phenomenal concept called the keystone habit. A keystone habit is basically a central habit that intentionally sparks a chain reaction. It naturally leads to the development of multiple other good habits over time. The absolute genius of this is that by targeting just these keystone habits, we don't have to change everything all at once. You don't need some exhausting 50-step plan to overhaul your life. Fixing just one foundational piece creates serious momentum. It actually shifts your self-image, and suddenly, all these other good habits become significantly easier to adopt.
Here are some of the most powerfully documented keystone habits out there: making the bed daily, consistent exercise, tracking what you eat, planning the day the night before. And this brilliantly illustrates how tiny structural shifts cause massive cascades of transformation. Take consistent exercise, for instance. Researchers have found that when people start habitually exercising, we're talking even just once a week, they often automatically start eating better without even meaning to. They start using their credit cards less, they show way more patience with their families. They didn't set out to fix their finances or their diets at all. They literally just focused on the keystone habit of exercise, and that incredible positive cascade just naturally followed.
And finally, Section 5, Mastering Your Own Architecture.
All right, we've studied the blueprints. We know all about the basal ganglia, the 3-part habit loop, the golden rule of swapping the routine, and the sheer power of keystone habits. So, how do you actually apply this exact engineering to rebuild your own daily life? Well, knowledge is really only potential power until you take action on it. As Charles Duhigg perfectly states, habits are not destiny. They can be ignored, changed, or replaced. I highly encourage you to internalize that. You are never completely stuck. Those routines that frustrate you, they're just old blueprints. You have ultimate control here. You are the architect of your own mind, and you hold the pen to redraw those plans whenever you choose.
So I want to leave you with one final provocative challenge to take with you today. What is the first cue you're going to rewrite today? Don't pick 10 things, just pick one. Find that trigger, keep the reward you genuinely crave, and engineer a brand new positive routine. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this structure has illuminated the hidden mechanics of your daily life. Now take this framework, get out there, and start actively building the habits that actually serve you.